What's up? This is the Objective Jerk, where I use my microphone as a form of therapy to share my innermost demons. I almost said jerk. What's going on? How's everybody doing? I think the not drinking coffee while doing the podcast actually helps with my sinuses, mucus, all that kind of stuff, so I'm not constantly. It seemed like it was better last time, so I'm giving it another shot. So what's up? How's everybody doing? Turn this down a little bit there, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so let's see. Some stuff going on in the news, but before we get to that, talk about me. Had Happy Easter, by the way, everybody. I don't know, did I record? Can't remember if I recorded before, like right before. Anyway, Happy Easter, late Easter. Me and the family went to the beach. I was really not looking forward to it, mainly just because if the water was cooler, it's funny because people like in the States, especially like on the East Coast, they want like warmer water, but it's like here, it's too warm, man. And so I wish it was a little more cooler, a little more, and it's very salty, So for me, it's not I don't know. I don't like, maybe they do have some surfing. It's nothing crazy here, but they do up north a little bit, I guess. Me and my son were kind of talking about it. I've never surfed. So maybe take some lessons and learn how to surf. I think that'd be fun. But yeah, so I don't, and then sand just gets everywhere and it's so hot. And plus just being around people, I don't like, I was not looking forward to it. But so we rented so they had like a main hut kind of covered thing that has a light and electricity if you need it. And then it has like a little bamboo kind of hut down closer to the beach, on the beach, right? So you don't have real far to go back and forth to the water. So I was like, yeah, that sounds good. We should get the two. So we have, the kids that want to play in the water if they want, and they have a shorter distance to the water, and then some shade, and then up at the main one where we set up all our food, I brought a fan just in case. But the wind was great. There was a nice cool breeze going the whole time. God, I can't even talk. Going the whole time. And yeah, it was nice. Kids brought the football. We threw the football around. The hut on the beach actually kind of was. We could have done without it because some people sat there and hung out and that, but not like I thought. I thought that would be the main hangout, but it wasn't. So it was nice though. I wasn't too hot. People were doing battle of the speakers. So they bring like big speakers and play their music, and then pretty soon someone over here is turning on their music, and it was just like, oh man, it was kind of annoying, but whatever. And then we walked down the beach because a family member, who's her significant other, he works at a resort that's down the beach, and they had a little coffee bar. So I was like, oh, let's go get some coffee. So we walked down there. It was a little further than I thought, but so we walked there, and then it's a nice resort, and they got this awesome pool, just great pool, huge pool. Nobody's in it. And I was like, dude, let's swim in this thing, while we're waiting for a coffee. So we had to pay some money to swim, which was fine. At first he was like, just go swim. But I was like, no, man, it's your work, it's your place of work or whatever. We'll pay. So we swam, we bought some coffee, and it was just like the way the pool was set up and made, like it kind of went off. It looked like, so if you got to a certain, like if you got down and looked at the ocean, because it was right on the beach, it looked like you were swimming in the ocean, optically, it looked like you were swimming in the ocean. So it was kind of cool. It was a nice pool, and I was like, dude, we got to come back here and get a room. And then every time I experience something like that here, I'm always like, man, I want to buy a little property on the beach. That'd be so awesome to have a house on the beach built on a platform, though, in case, the water comes up or typhoons, raise the water levels. But just build something so that when you wake up in the morning, get your cup of coffee, and go out on your balcony, and there's the ocean. It's badass. But anyway, I don't know. I don't think there's a whole lot of everything's pretty much owned already, and what isn't owned is like really, really expensive, or it's only like large properties for a resort. But it's like I don't want to build a resort. I just want to build a small little house to hang out at the beach. A beach house. Maybe we'll look into it. Anyway, so let's see. We did that, and then that was Sunday, and then Monday. What's today? Today's Tuesday. Oh, okay. I was thinking today was Wednesday. So yesterday I didn't do a whole lot because I was, I was still, even though the cool breeze was coming and I was in a good mindset, I still paid for a lot of it yesterday. Run around in flip flops. I have like a bone spur on my Achilles, so like I have to wear a little not a spacer, but just a little step, a little cushion thing in my shoe because my right leg is like centimeters shorter than my left leg, and over time because of that I've gotten this bone spur, so I have to wear this. I can't think of what it is right now, but just just a little lift basically, I guess, but it's pretty small. And it helps with the bone spur. And so when I used to work, when I was on my feet, I had to, have those in my boots and stuff. And I don't know, if I think about it and plan it good enough, I would, because I have one little lift thing. But, at the beach, I'm just wearing flip-flops. So there's no lift. So I didn't run around too much, but I did a little bit. And so yesterday I was feeling it, and I didn't drink or nothing. I just drank water and coffee. No, I did have one beer to kind of, because everybody there drinks, man. There's always a table. When you got a group of family, there's always another little table where all the men sit around drinking gin and beer, and I'm just over that shit. I don't care to drink anymore. I'll have like a nice good German beer if I ever get one sometimes. There is a place nearby, how long is that drive? Hour and a half away. They got a restaurant there that has some nice beer. So I'll get I'll get one of those. But other than that, I don't really care to drink anymore. I'd rather have coffee. Why was I talking about this? So we were hanging out, people drinking. Oh yeah, because yesterday if I had drank, it probably would have been worse, So, and then the sunscreen we had was actually pretty good. My wife bought some sunscreen spray and sprayed it on, and it seemed to do the trick pretty good. I mean, I got some color, but I didn't get burned, which was surprising. And then my oldest, he kind of looked like he was going to get burned, but same thing. He just browned up a little. So yeah, it was a good day, man. Good, wearing my rosary the whole day. Unfortunately, the Pope, he passed away, but I'm not getting to that just yet.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Thanks again for listening to The Objective Jerk. I greatly appreciate it. If you could, like, subscribe, comment on wherever you're finding this, and you can also email me at theobjectivejerk@gmail.com. So, hope you're enjoying it, and please continue on with the episode. I mean, never mind. I'll talk about it in a second. So, yeah, so I had Easter. It was great. Enjoyed myself. Yesterday I had to recover, mainly just because it was just being around people and being, it takes a lot out of me as an introvert and my PTSD and everything. It takes a lot out of me to be sociable and, doing all this kind of stuff. And it really does. Like mentally, it just is exhausting. So it's like I got to have a day where I'm just like, nobody. And then my wife again is like, hey, let's go here and have dinner. I'm like, no, I'm not going anywhere. It's like, we've been married for how long? And you still, she seems to forget that sometimes. But, because if I go, then I'm just ornery and irritable. Take ornery and irritable put together, you get honorable. Oh. But so yeah, I didn't do much yesterday. And then today was like, okay, I'm going riding. Kids have a day off from school, so I took my son. We're gonna go riding our mountain bikes. But the trail that we've been riding is it's like clay soil kind, and lots of motorcycles and people use it. So it gets, at this time of the year, it gets really dusty and really soft dust, and it just gets over everything, and kind of makes it a little hard for the tires to grip. So it kind of sucks. So I'm kind of tired of riding it. So basically, let's see, it's April, May, June, July. So it's going to be like 5 months before riding it will be fun again, because rainy season will come and it's going to be muddy. So that's not going to be any fun. But then after rainy season ends and then the ground, it like hardens and it's compact, that's the best time to go riding. So October, November, that'll be the when I go back to riding it. But so I went to one of our other trails and it hasn't been ridden much or cleared. It's not like it's a city park mountain trail thing. These are all just trails that my riding buddies have found and used over the years. And they or we have to be the ones to kind of clear it and keep it going. And I hadn't ridden in a while. And this trail was, out of all of the trails near us, it was like my least favorite. But it's not bad, but that it splits up and does different things. And so I was wanting to go with one of my buddies so I would know where to go. But I was like, no, let's just go. So I took my son and we went. And I'm like, I think this is it. And we went down and it's like started off good. And it's like, yeah, riding it. And then all of a sudden it just kind of ends at the road. And I'm like, crap, this is the wrong one. So we were supposed to turn and then, it'd be a longer ride and everything. So we went back and I was like, okay, I think this is the way to go. But then going down, it was just really overgrown. We couldn't get through. We'd have to clear it and everything. So I was like, crap. And then plus there was like lots of trash around and everything. And usually when I ride this trail, it is after the rainy season. Most of the riding I've done has been after rainy season. So everything's nice and green. So now everything's kind of more dead and brown, I mean, as much as it can be in a tropical environment. But so then so I didn't get to do anything. I was like, man, this is a bust. So I was like, well, let's go back to the trail we ride, which is the dusty one. But we're going to, instead of riding the whole thing, we're going to split off and go up the road and take this other trail that I actually rode again not too long ago. So it was a little bit later in the day, than I like. It was like by the time we got here, that's like usually by the time we're ending, but that's fine. So we start riding, and then all of a sudden my pedal falls off. And I'm not talking about the platform pedal, like the crank arm fell off. I'm sitting there riding, and also I was like, whoa, I'm glad I wasn't like hauling ass or anything. It was like right at the beginning, going just kind of slow. So I'm thankful for that. But so I was like, what the hell, man? So, we couldn't ride anymore. So I had to go home, and I looked at it briefly, but I didn't have my glasses, and it's got grease on and everything. But to me, it looked like the gears, the teeth and the little gears, because it slides into the shaft and then you tighten it. Looked like they got, stretched or torn up a little bit. And I was like, oh man, so I'm gonna have to buy a whole new crank set. So I was just pissed off and ornery, like normal, but a little bit more elevated. But by the time I got home, I got my glasses on and cleaned it up. I could see, okay, nothing was damaged, so it was good. So I was like, whew, thank God. Thank you, Jesus, right? But then there's this little plastic, like, lock washer kind of thingy called a lock. It's just a little plastic thing. So once you slide the crank onto the crankshaft, then you put that on and you tighten that, and then you tighten the little Allen keys to tighten it on to the crankshaft. It's kind of hard to explain. If you know, you know. But anyway, this little plastic thing that got ripped and torn. So I think what happened was the guy that took all of my old components and put it on this new frame, I think he screwed up or he forgot to properly tighten it. I'm not, you know, ultimately it's, if I'm going to ride a bike, I should check and make sure everything's tightened. And I did actually kind of tighten those Allen keys a little bit. But what I think he did is he stuck it on there and he just kind of screwed in the lock, the thing that broke. And that was it. And then when I got home and I kind of checked, I was like, oh, I'll tighten this a little bit. But it wasn't enough, and I assumed that. So it's kind of both of us. I know the guy didn't tighten it right. And then, I should have maybe looked at it a little closer. But I mean, I just, that's the whole point of having a bike mechanic, right? Is to have somebody that you can take your bike to get the maintenance it needs. I shouldn't have to go back over it, right? I was a little pissed, especially when I thought the crank was actually broken and I was going to have to buy one. But then when it turned out just the little lock nut, then I wasn't as upset, But then they didn't have any kind of replacement, so I had to reach out to the guy that I bought my crankshaft from, or my drivetrain, and so he's got some. And he's just giving it to me. He's like, hey, I got one for you. You can have it. Just pay for the shipping. But I was like, well, I was like, do you have something else? Maybe like some grips, or you have something else that I can purchase? Nothing crazy, but I don't know. So I'm waiting to hear from that, and then hopefully get that shipped here. I'm imagining he'd ship it tomorrow, Wednesday, so maybe I'll get it Thursday, because I got my crankset or my drivetrain pretty quick when he shipped it, so it took like a day. Well, he shipped it in the afternoon. If he ships it tomorrow morning, I would get it Thursday. Ships it in the afternoon, I'd get it on Friday, I think. Anyway, so I just told him if he can like expedite it, I'll pay for it. So now I can't ride. That sucks. So now I gotta wait for that one little plastic thingy to put it back together. But it could have been worse, So, like I said, I could have been hauling ass downhill, pedaling, and then fell off, and then my foot would. I mean, it could have been nasty. So thankful for that. And then like I said, the only thing that's I have to replace is that little plastic thing. So. Which you think it wouldn't be plastic. It kind of locks it because so it's like the crank that the pedal's connected to slides onto the crankshaft. I don't know if that's what they call it, but which is part of the other crank on the other side, right? And then this little lock thing screws into that and just kind of tightens it puts it in place on the crankshaft, and then there's Allen keys on the sides that you tighten those down, and that tightens, and then that's it. You're good. So I mean, I guess theoretically I could put it on without it, tighten it down, but no, I'm not kidding. Probably wouldn't last long, and I just end up causing more damage or hurt myself for sure. So I gotta wait. Gotta be patient, I guess. I'm trying to lose some weight, man. I talked about somebody saying like, quit eating shit. It's like, well, I don't eat. I eat pretty decently actually. I mean, if the kids have cereal, sometimes I'll eat some cereal, which is not just sugar. But I don't eat out all the time at fast food. Anyway, okay. Like, so yeah, so stuff that's going on. What's going on? Well, the Pope passed away. It's kind of crazy. I know, people are, well, all Catholics and a lot of Christians, most Christians. I mean, there are Christians that don't care about the Pope, but all Catholics are sad, but some are sad but optimistic because, he was very, I guess, liberal, you could say. He kind of went with what was trending right now, which goes against a lot of what Jesus taught and what's taught in the Bible, so I think a lot of people are hoping for a more conservative pope that's gonna follow the teachings a little bit more, because even though times change, it doesn't change Catholicism. It stays the same. I don't know. Like I the church that I go to is part of the Novus Ordo. That's how you say it. That's when um, the the catechism, when they changed like the rules basically, um, during the Council of Trent, and this was like in the 60s, I think this happened, because Catholicism was huge in the States in the 50s, and then they changed a lot of things about mass, just certain, it was little stuff, but it's like they said it was to try and bring in, the people who are like afraid of like the the traditions and everything, and bring in the more like some of the Protestant style kind of churches where it's, singing and dancing and doing all this stuff. I mean, they didn't make it that, but they did little things to kind of to bring in like the younger crowd supposedly. I mean, this is what was official, right? Um, but what a lot of people who are more traditional, they kind of saw it as basically Satan infiltrating the church. And you might be like, what? But it's the little things, so one of the things, I mean, there's lots of little stuff. You can look it up. But one of the things that they changed, so before, when during communion, the priest would put the body of Christ, the little, what do you call it? I can't remember. Anyway, they'd put it directly on your tongue. You'd go up and open your mouth and put your tongue, and they'd put it on your tongue. You close, and then you sign the cross. You go pray, and all that stuff. Communion, Eucharist. But then Novus Ordo changed it to where they place it in your hand, and then you can take it in your hand and put it in your mouth. And it's like, I guess maybe it's to kind of help move things along, supposedly. But the thing is to this day, Satanists and whatever will try and take one of those, communion wafers and use them for whatever, anti, Christian, hail Satan kind of stuff that they do. And so it makes it easier to do that by placing it in their hand. And you might think that's something kind of stupid and small, but this started in the 60s or 70s. Actually, I think it was the end of the 60s, and then it actually officially went in the 70s. So now, from what I can tell, it's not like mandatory. Like you can go up there and you can, stick your tongue out, and then the priest will put it on there. But so I've done both here, but it seems like so I do it in the hand because they're not. I think my first communion I did it on my tongue. And it was from the priest that I knew after I was baptized. But ever since then, I tried it once before, and they just kind of looked at me like weird, and like they kind of hesitated. So I was just like, oh crap, okay, here's my hand. So, and to some people that's like, oh, what's the big deal? But it's like, because that wafer is been, the priest. I'm not an expert. I don't know all this stuff, so I'm really not. This is not a Catholic podcast or a Catholic channel. I'm still learning a lot, and then of course, me, I forget terms and everything. But it's kind of sacred at that moment, and then they give it to the individual, puts it in their mouth, and it starts to dissolve. So there's no chance of any kind of, Like there's no, when it comes right from after the priest does his thing, and I can't think of what the term is called, and blesses basically the wafers, they become the body of Christ, and then you give it to the individual. But when you put it in their hand, now it's like you're giving it to yourself. So it was the priest giving it to you. Now it's like he puts it in your hand, and then you're giving it to yourself. So there's that kind of, but then it's also the people who have nefarious plans of, you put in their hand and they pretend like they take it, but then they use it for whatever. And there's videos and there's plenty of stories of priests stopping people. They notice that and then they're like, hey, and they take it back or whatever because it's sacred. It's the body of Christ basically. And so it's just little stuff like that. There's lots of other things. They have like some people singing music that's kind of like the newer whatever instead of the old, chants, the old Gregorian chants or whatever. So anyway, so my church is the Novus Ordo, so they go by the newer whatever. But there is a church that's about an hour, maybe a little longer, an hour and away, maybe two, actually I think, possibly three, but I think it's two. There's a Latin Mass or old, you call it Latin Mass or traditional Mass, I think, where they, so it's the priest is facing forward. There's no microphones, because it's like there isn't like I don't know. It used to be very like the old school. I haven't been there. I haven't witnessed it, so that's why I'm not talking too much about it. But it's just, you go there and you pray, and then like the priest does this thing, and you take your Eucharist. But it's not like I mean, you're there as a as in a church, as a group of people, as a whatever. I can't think of the word for it. But you're also, it's more there personally for God and for Jesus. You know what I mean? Like you're not there to kind of BS with the priest and all this kind of stuff. It's very just you go there and you pray, and I don't know, do they stand up the whole time? I might be confusing that with Orthodoxy, which they might stand up the whole time. You have to dress up. There's more of a dress code. The women wear the veils, and then it's very like old school tradition. You know what I mean? Not like the new, yay, kind of stuff that's like in the big churches and stuff now. But anyway, so I want to go to that one. I want to go and check it out eventually. I was kind of hoping to go there. Yeah, I didn't want to go on Easter because Easter's crazy. That's when everybody goes to church, and Catholics don't go to church all year. Some don't set foot in church unless something bad happens or they want something, or it's like Easter or Christmas. So I try to go every week, once a week, to take communion and everything. So we didn't get to go yesterday, but I'm gonna go tomorrow. I go in the morning because it's English. It's much cooler because it's early and there's less people, so it's perfect for me. But yeah, so that's why there's some, it seems like there's been, ever since the Council of Trent, there's been this slow push to like infect Catholicism with ideas and traditions that go against what Jesus laid out. You know what I mean? And it's just been little stuff over time. And so yeah, people are like, "Oh my gosh, you're crazy." It's like, what? Okay, well, I don't know. So if that seems crazy, then get your phone. Well, get specifically an iPhone, right? If you have an iPhone, you know how you can go on Messenger or whatever, and you put like "Happy Birthday," and it'll bring up icons, a balloon, a present, this and that, right? You can put up Easter on the phone, and it'll bring up the rabbit, chocolate, all that kind of crap. I put Jesus, nothing. I put Catholicism, nothing. Christian, nothing. I put Rosary, and it brings up like the Muslim thing that they have. I can put Islam, and it brings up a little icon with the moon and the star. I can type in Buddhism, and it brings up the little 3 thingy, whatever this and that. But no, you try and do Jesus or Christianity or anything like that. Nothing. Why is that? Why is it okay to hate on Christianity and Catholics? Think about that. Anyway, I think that's it. I've been talking for a while. So thanks for hanging out with me. Let me know what you think. See you guys next time. God bless. All right, bye. You just put yourself through another episode of The Objective Jerk. Thanks again for hanging out with me. Please email me at theobjectivejerk@gmail.com. Like, subscribe, comment, wherever you find this, follow. It all helps. But thanks again, and I'll see you next time.